Amara Nwoko was the kind of woman everyone noticed. Her laugh was loud, her smile warm, and her confidence unshakable. From the crowded markets of Lagos to the quiet evenings in her apartment, she carried herself like someone who knew exactly where she was going. And right now, she was heading toward her dream wedding. Chike Okoro, her soon-to-be husband, was handsome, kind, and successful. He ran a thriving business in Enugu and treated her like she was the most important person in his world. To Amara, he was perfect. The wedding plans were a burst of Nigerian tradition and beauty. Bold Ankara fabrics were being sewn into stunning outfits, drummers and talking drums were booked to keep the dance floor alive, and the menu promised jollof rice, suya, and pepper soup that would keep guests smiling for days. Families on both sides were deeply involved, offering advice and blessings in equal measure. It was the kind of wedding everyone dreamed of, rich in color, culture, and love. Through it all, Zuri Adeyemi, Amara's best friend since childhood, stood firmly by her side. They had shared secrets since they were little girls, laughed until they cried, and leaned on each other through heartbreaks and victories. As her maid of honor, Zuri handled every detail with care, making sure Amara felt nothing but joy. In Amara's eyes, she had the perfect man, the perfect friend, and the perfect wedding on the horizon. Life couldn't get better. Or so she thought. It was only a few days before the wedding when the strange calls began. The first time, Amara's phone rang well past midnight. She frowned at the unknown number, but curiosity made her answer. "Hello?" she said softly, not wanting to wake her neighbors. There was no reply, only the faint sound of someone breathing on the other end. She repeated herself, a little louder this time, but the line went dead. She shrugged it off, thinking it was a wrong number. But then it happened again the next night, and the night after that. Always the same, late at night, a silent caller, slow breathing, and then the call ending without a word. It gave her a strange chill, but she told herself it was nothing. Around the same time, Zuri started acting different. Normally, she would sit with Amara for hours, talking and laughing over palm wine, but lately she was always in a rush. She'd show up to help with wedding preparations, bringing fabrics, making calls to vendors, checking flowers. But she avoided any real conversation. If Amara asked how she was, Zuri would smile too quickly and change the subject. Her eyes sometimes looked troubled, but when Amara pressed, Zuri would just wave it off. Chike, too, had changed. He claimed his business was busier than ever, which meant he was missing more of their planned dinners. He still called her my queen and told her he loved her, but there was something in his voice now, a tightness, like he was hiding something. Once, when she mentioned the strange phone calls, he grew quiet, then laughed nervously and said it was probably just a prank. Amara noticed these little things, Zuri's distracted air, Chike's tired eyes, the late-night calls, but she didn't connect them. Her mind was filled with thoughts of wedding dresses, guest lists, and the life she was about to start. She told herself that every couple feels stress before their big day, and maybe her friend was just overwhelmed too. The truth was, something was building in the shadows, a quiet storm creeping toward her without warning. But in her heart, she was still living inside her fairy tale. She could already picture herself walking down the aisle, the music swelling, her family cheering, and Chike's eyes locked on hers. She held on to that image tightly, too tightly to see the cracks forming beneath it. And so, the days ticked down to the wedding. The calls kept coming. Zuri kept smiling that strange, distant smile. Chike kept disappearing for work. And Amara, blissfully unaware, kept dreaming of the perfect day, not knowing that everything she trusted was about to shatter. The morning sun spilled golden light over Victoria Island, making the ocean sparkle like it had been dressed for the wedding too. The lavish resort was alive with movement. Guests in bright Ankara outfits filled the lobby, their laughter mixing with the deep beat of talking drums outside. Florists rushed past with armfuls of white roses, decorators fixed the last strands of fairy lights, and waiters carried trays of chilled champagne to the reception hall. It was chaos, but the beautiful kind. In her bridal suite, Amara sat in front of the mirror while a makeup artist added the final touches to her glowing face. She wore a silky white robe, her wedding dress hanging nearby like a promise. Zuri, dressed in her stunning maid of honor gown, sat beside her, pouring champagne into crystal glasses. They clinked them together and laughed, remembering silly childhood moments. For a while, it felt like the old days, until Amara noticed Zuri glancing at her phone again. And again. Her fingers tapped the screen quickly before she would lock it and force a smile. "Everything okay?" Amara asked lightly. Zuri looked up too quickly. "Of course. Just making sure the vendors are on time." Her voice was steady, but her eyes flicked back to her phone almost instantly. Before Amara could ask anything else, her own phone rang. It wasn't a number she recognized. Her heart skipped, she remembered those strange calls from the nights before. This time she hesitated before answering. "Hello?" she said cautiously. There was a pause, then a trembling female voice. "You need to see what's happening in Suite 305, now." Amara froze. "Who is this?" But the line went dead. Her champagne glass felt suddenly heavy in her hand. She glanced at Zuri, who was looking down at her phone again, seemingly unaware. Amara's mind raced. Was it a prank? A mistake? Or something serious? Her hands felt cold as she set her glass down. "I'll be right back," she murmured, slipping into her heels. Zuri didn't ask where she was going, and for some reason, that made the unease grow. Amara stepped into the hallway. The air outside the suite felt different, quieter, heavier. The distant music from the drums and the chatter of guests faded as she walked toward the elevators. Her heart beat faster with each step. She didn't even know what she expected to find, but something deep inside told her she couldn't ignore the call. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. She stepped in, pressing the button for the third floor. The ride felt slow, every second stretching like it was testing her patience. When the doors opened again, the hallway before her was empty, lined with identical doors, all silent. She found Suite 305 at the far end. The number gleamed on the brass plate. She stood there for a moment, listening. Nothing. Her pulse pounded in her ears. She reached for the door handle, her fingers trembling. Whatever was behind that door, she was about to find out. Amara's heels clicked softly on the polished floor, each step echoing in the silent hallway. Her palms were damp, her breath shallow. She could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears, so loud it almost drowned out the distant hum of air conditioning. The brass number, 305, shimmered under the warm hallway light. She stopped in front of the door, her hand hovering over the handle. Her fingers trembled. Something inside her whispered that whatever she saw in this room would change everything. Taking a deep breath, she turned the handle slowly. The door gave way with a faint creak. At first, she only saw the edge of the bed, a scattering of clothes on the floor, familiar clothes. Her eyes moved upward, and her breath caught. There they were. Chaik stood near the bed, his shirt unbuttoned, his hands frozen mid-motion. Zuri was beside him, her bridesmaid dress pulled halfway down, her hair a mess, her face drained of color. The room smelled faintly of perfume and betrayal. Time seemed to stop. For a moment, no one spoke. Amara's chest tightened so much she thought she might not be able to breathe. Zuri's mouth opened first. "Amara, I can explain," she began, her voice shaky. Chaik stepped forward. "It's not what it looks like," but his eyes betrayed him. Amara didn't shout. She didn't cry out. She simply stared at them, her world tilting in slow motion. Her vision blurred, but she kept walking, past the bed, past their pleading faces, back out into the hallway. She didn't trust her voice, so she said nothing. Her heels clicked again, faster this time, echoing like the sound of something breaking. Tears spilled freely now, hot and blinding. She didn't know where she was going. She only knew she had to keep moving. The air outside the suite felt heavier, pressing down on her shoulders. She turned a corner and finally stopped, her back against the wall. The quiet hallway stretched before her, but she couldn't see it clearly. Her phone was still in her hand, the last call, that mysterious voice, flashing on the screen. Her fingers clenched around it as if holding onto it could somehow keep her from falling apart completely. Her knees gave way, and she slid down the wall to the floor. The cool marble felt sharp against her skin. She pulled her legs close, trying to steady her breathing, but the sobs came anyway, quiet at first, then shaking her whole body. She stared at the floor, her tears leaving dark spots on her dress. Her perfect day was gone. Her best friend was gone. The man she thought she would marry had just destroyed her trust in one brutal moment. Somewhere in the distance, the drums kept playing, the music of celebration still filling the air, but in this hallway, Amara sat alone, clutching her phone like it was the only thing keeping her from disappearing into the pain. Amara walked back to her bridal suite as if her body no longer belonged to her. Her steps were slow, her mind numb, her tears drying into faint salt lines on her cheeks. The makeup that had been perfect an hour ago was now smudged, and her chest felt like someone had tied a rope around it and pulled tight. She closed the door behind her and leaned against it, her breathing shaky. The room was empty now, quiet except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Her wedding dress still hung in the corner, untouched, glowing white like it was mocking her. Her phone was still in her hand. She looked down at the unknown number on the call history. The same number that had haunted her nights. Her thumb hovered over it for a moment before she pressed call. The line rang once. Twice. Then a woman's voice came through, low and steady but with an edge of pain. Amara Nwoko? Yes, Amara whispered. My name is Nia Kamau, the voice said. I'm from Nairobi, and I'm Chike's fiancé. The words hit Amara like a punch. Fiancé, she repeated, her voice breaking. Yes. Not ex. We are, or we were, engaged. Nia's voice trembled now. I found out about his wedding to you through Instagram. A friend sent me the pictures from your bridal shower. I booked the first flight to Lagos because I couldn't let him do this to either of us. Amara sank onto the edge of the bed, her hand pressed to her forehead. Either of us? She asked softly. Nia took a deep breath. Yes. I went through his phone before I left. I saw messages between him and a woman named Zuri. Your maid of honor, right? He was, with her too. Amara closed her eyes. Even though she had just seen it with her own eyes, hearing it from someone else made the wound cut deeper. She felt the betrayal of her friend, her fiancé, and now the weight of knowing there was another woman who had been promised the same future. I'm sorry, Nia said quietly. I know today was supposed to be your day. But he lied to both of us. He played both of us. There was a long silence between them. Two women, strangers just moments ago, now connected by the same man's deceit. Amara's breathing slowed. Something cold inside her was replaced by a sharp, steady heat. What are you going to do? Nia asked finally. Amara wiped her face and straightened her back. Her voice was calm now, almost too calm. The wedding will not happen. And everyone will know why. On the other end, Nia's voice grew firm. Good. I'll be there. They didn't need to say more. The alliance was silent but solid, built on truth and shared pain. Amara ended the call, set her phone down, and stared at her reflection in the mirror. She no longer saw a bride. She saw a woman who was about to take back her power. Amara stepped out of her suite with her head held high, though her heart still felt heavy in her chest. The sound of drums and laughter from the reception hall grew louder as she walked toward it. Guests were already seated, their colorful outfits bright against the elegant gold and white decor. Everyone expected a joyful ceremony, but Amara knew they were about to witness something else entirely. She took a deep breath, her face calm, her step steady. No one would guess she had been in tears only minutes ago. When she entered the hall, all eyes turned to her. The MC, smiling wide, began to announce her arrival, but she lifted her hand to stop him. She walked straight to the front, where the microphone stood, her wedding dress still untouched in the bridal suite. Whispers spread through the room. Chaik stood off to the side, his smile faltering as she approached. Zuri was nowhere to be seen. Amara took the microphone and let her gaze sweep over the crowd. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice steady but carrying a weight that made the room fall silent. "You came to witness my wedding, but there will be no wedding today." Gasps rippled through the guests. Some leaned forward, others exchanged glances. She continued. "The man I was supposed to marry, Chieko Koro, has been lying to me. He has been engaged to another woman in Nairobi, and he has been having an affair with my maid of honor, Zuri Adeyemi, the same friend I trusted with my whole heart." The hall erupted in murmurs, shocked voices mixing with the sharp hiss of elders shaking their heads. Chaik's mother rose, trying to calm her down, but Amara's voice cut through the noise. "I deserve better than lies. I deserve better than betrayal. And so does every woman here who has ever been made to feel like she wasn't enough." Chaik stepped forward, hands raised. "Amara, please, let's talk about this privately." She didn't even look at him. She handed the microphone back to the MC and turned, walking down the aisle between the rows of stunned guests. Her posture was straight, her chin high, her dignity intact. Just as she reached the doors, they swung open. A tall woman in a fitted navy dress walked in, her presence commanding attention. It was Nia. Without hesitation, she strode up to Chaik, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. The room was silent now, every eye watching. Nia reached into her bag and pulled out a small velvet box. She opened it, showing the sparkling engagement ring inside. "You gave me this," she said loudly, her voice steady, "while you were planning a wedding with her." She turned her gaze briefly toward Amara, then back to Chaik. "You don't deserve either of us." She placed the ring firmly into his palm, then turned and walked out, her head as high as Amara's. And just like that, the two women left him standing in a room full of people who now knew the truth. Weeks later, the chaos of that day felt like a distant storm, but its impact was still fresh in Amara's heart. She flew to Nairobi, where she met Nia again, this time not as strangers connected by betrayal, but as women who had survived it together. They sat in a quiet cafe, sipping tea and laughing softly at how small the world could be. Neither of them had spoken to Chaik since the wedding. He had tried to call, to explain, but they both blocked his number. Some doors, once closed, should never be opened again. Zuri had tried too, sending messages through mutual friends, asking for a chance to apologize. Amara read them but never replied. The pain was still too sharp, and forgiveness wasn't something she was ready to give. She had loved Zuri like a sister, and that kind of wound cut the deepest. Instead of sinking into the hurt, Amara poured her energy into something new. She started a travel blog, telling stories of African women who were building businesses, leading communities, and breaking barriers. It wasn't just about travel, it was about strength, courage, and finding freedom after heartbreak. The blog grew quickly, and soon women from all over the continent were writing to her, sharing their own stories. One evening in Mombasa, Amara stood barefoot on the beach, the golden sunset painting the sky. The ocean breeze brushed her face, and for the first time in weeks, her chest felt light. She closed her eyes and let the sound of the waves fill her. She thought about the phone call that had changed everything, and she smiled. Sometimes, she realized, one call can break your heart, but it can also save you from a lifetime of pain.